Nigeria's retired military generals represent a vast, untapped reservoir of strategic expertise that could be crucial for national development. These former service chiefs possess deep experience in leadership, crisis management, and organizational discipline, qualities desperately needed as Nigeria confronts complex security challenges and governance gaps. Security analysts suggest creating structured pathways for those veterans to contribute through advisory roles on security reform, defense innovation, and strategic planning. Their expertise could strengthen policy think tanks, enhance conflict resolution efforts, and provide valuable mentorship to the next generation of public servants and military officers. While some retired generals have successfully transitioned into politics and diplomacy, a more systematic approach is needed to harness this national resource. Experts advise that the Ministry of Defense could establish formal programs engaging these veterans in youth development initiatives and national security strategy formulations. Well, joining us now is former DSS Director Mike Ejiofor. He will be sharing his thoughts on how Nigeria can further benefit from the latent capacity of its retired generals. Welcome to Newsday.
Thank you for having me.
So, Mr. Ejiofor, how do you think Nigeria can leverage the wealth of experience and expertise of retired military generals in areas like security, leadership, and strategic planning?
Well, in a lot of ways, but before I go into that, I think we must appreciate our veterans, our retired generals, that have done their best in contributing their quota to the fight against insecurity in Nigeria. The outgone security chiefs, especially the CDS, if you recall, it was more or less a rallying point, and they were all working together. So we need a synergy for us to get over this issue. Now, if you look at the retired people, the retired veterans, who have a lot to do, gain from them. Some of them are still young and very, very capable of contributing their quality. Some of them can be used as consultants. And in fact, I have a proposal that I'm looking at where not only the military, the paramilitary services all over the country will come under one umbrella, because there's no state, there's virtually no community you go into this country without having one retired person or the other from the military or paramilitary service or intelligence services. So we need to come together, harness their resources, look at the way of getting everybody together to support our regular forces. Because if you think you can leave this alone to our fighting forces, I don't think we'll be getting it right. And we need to get everybody together and ask them to support our military force, because that has been their constituency. A lot of money has been spent training them, especially the generals. It's sad that many of them are retiring just because of seniority, and we still need their services.
So do you agree with calls in some quarters for the establishment of a council or forum, for retired military generals to advise the government on security and development issues?
Yeah, I agree completely. That's what I said. They still have a lot to contribute. You cannot just leave them like that, because they say the idle mind is the devil's workshop. For instance, some of them are not prepared, even though they have almost attained their peak in their career. They were not prepared to retire immediately. Maybe some of them have 2-3 years to go, but all of a sudden they go. So I agree that they should come together. I think Nigeria Army Resource Center had something like that, where all the generals are brought together, doing research, advising the military, advising government. I think that's the way to go. We need them.
But then what are some of the challenges, that you think may arise in leveraging the capacity of these retired military generals, and how can these challenges be addressed?
Well, some of them, like I said, who were not prepared for retirement, will eventually become disgruntled and not trying to contribute their quota in furtherance of the fight against insecurity. But I think that's why the government will take deliberate policy to change the narrative, get all these people together, and maybe subject them to series of courses, and they become consultants to government. They do research. Some of them who have been in the field, in theater, have experiences, ordinarily things they should have done while in service that they didn't have the opportunity. They put them together and assist the regular forces that are fighting.
So how can these retired generals help bridge the gap between the military and civilian population to foster mutual understanding?
Well, you see, for integration into the civilian civil life, it's a little difficult. But I think the government has a greater role to play in terms of bringing them together, integrating them, because if you live like this fight against the insurgency and the terrorism with all the insecurity we are facing in the country, if you leave them to the military forces alone, we're not going to win the war. So there's need for government to take deliberate effort, take deliberate policies, form deliberate policies to at least make life more bearable. For instance, you can see that prices of things are going down, but the government still need to do more in terms of, the prices of rice is coming down, and people are happy. So if government can take such palliative measures to look at all these areas of differences where people are disgruntled, it will help our security forces by at least people building confidence in the government, and the people also helping the military forces to volunteer information and get the confidence of the people.
So what best practices, from military leadership can be adapted to improve governance and public administration in Nigeria?
Well, we're in a democracy. The military is not supposed to be operating overtly. They're supposed to be, their main responsibility is to defend our territorial integrity, our sovereignty. But because we have a lot of security challenges, you see the military openly participating in civil matters. So we need to also look at the police, constitute the police, and see how the welfare of the police, the funding of the police can be improved upon so that the military will go to the background except where there are serious challenges. I think that's the way we should go. Relying completely on the military is not the way to go, because we are in a civilian democracy.
So how can these retired generals be utilized in regional peacekeeping and conflict resolution within West Africa and, of course, the African Union framework?
Yeah, I talked about, getting them together and forming research centers and getting them engaged. You can still pay them stipends despite will it be rumor or authentic information where you say the welfare of retired generals, is enhanced if it is true. And that will encourage them also, some of them who left prematurely, to assist the government. I think by so doing, you get them integrated, get them involved, and even in the West African sub-region, they can do researches. There are crises. The crises are not peculiar to Nigeria. We have a lot of crises in the West African sub-region. So with such research-based solutions, they can export them to other countries, especially within the West African sub-region. You also recall that the issue of insurgency, terrorism is not peculiar to it. It's permeating all over the West African sub-region.
Well, former DSS Director Mike Ejiofor, thank you so much for joining us on Newsday.